know, I'm so nervous. I feel like this is redemption because after my first YouTube video, I saw that and I was just like, bruh, that was rough. But it's also like everything, learning, it's a growing curve. I'm on a growing curve. I'm learning what I'm unlearning. And what I'm unlearning is that being perfect is overrated. And so I've learned to laugh at my mess ups and just kind of embrace them, look at them as lessons and move on. And so that's what we're doing. I feel like a problem that we often encounter is that we tend to gravitate towards ideas or thoughts that only validate our current beliefs. But the problem with that is inevitably you're stunting your growth and creativity. So the art of unlearning is just simply shifting your perspective so that you are not trapped in a bubble. It's choosing to live life on your own terms and not for anyone else. It's finding your own voice to be authentically you. So quick story time for many of you guys who've already been following me and know kind of how this podcast came to be, but for the newcomers who may not know. So my podcast originally was about me interviewing unique people who were pursuing their passion, who were doing something outside of the normal 9 to 5. And through those interviews, I kind of began to notice a lot of similarities, but it also made me question just kind of the type of mindset that these individuals had to truly go after their passions. And that's kind of when Above the Mean shifted into more of its like kind of self-growth era, and where I really dove into the mindset that you need to cultivate in order to go after these passions, like tackling your limiting beliefs and basically improving your own self-confidence, your self-worth. And now I feel like the podcast is shifting once again into this new era of not necessarily me unlearning, but unconditioning myself, and I guess basically unlearning just all the different ideologies, themes, values, beliefs that we were taught from society and our parents and all these institutions growing up that I feel no longer serve me, like who I am today. Like the notion that we're supposed to work a job until we retire. Like that blows my mind. Or the fact that we're expected to have only one identity or one really good skill, that we can't be anything and everything that we want to be, but rather you are supposed to be really good at just one thing. And don't even get me started on just capitalism as a whole, but there's just so many ideas and thoughts and values that no longer serve our generation. Or the notion that you're supposed to start getting married and want to start a family all by your mid to late 20s. People used to get married at my age. I mean, people still are now, but that's not something for me. I mean, it works for other people, but for me at this day and age, it's not something that would serve me. Here I am, this soon-to-be 25-year-old who essentially has done everything right by societal standards. I mean, I went to school, I made good grades, I went off to a good college, and because of that, I graduated and I found a great job working for one of the, if not the best tech companies in the world. And by all means, I should be quote unquote happy. I'm living the dream, but I'm not. I still feel unfulfilled. And I think ultimately I realized I was living for other people and not for myself. So now I kind of want to explore the notion of unlearning different biases, ideologies, beliefs, values that I was taught growing up but no longer serve me and who I want to be in this world today. This vast, ever-changing world that's constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly changing. I received my degree in design and my minor in visual media studies and photography from the University of Texas at Austin. Being a trained photographer, my eye is always drawn to details and unique perspectives. Creativity helps to open the mind. By having various guests on my show from different walks of life, my audience is exposed to various perspectives and views that I'm hoping will essentially help you to think unconventionally. So many people in today's society feel lost and don't necessarily know how to let their true selves shine through. I want to help you find your authentic voice. I want to help you find your narrative, your passion. My podcast is called Above the Mean. Essentially, I want to help people to think outside the box and to question what they've been taught through conditioning of just societal standards, the beliefs that our parents bestowed upon us, and just kind of question everything in order to find what you truly care about. Try and find your own authentic voice. Essentially makes you unique, what makes you above average, above all the masses, dare I say, above the mean. Yeah, that was corny. I know it's corny, but I had to throw it. I couldn't miss that opportunity right there. But so moving forward, Above the Mean is not necessarily just a podcast about people trying to pursue their passions, but rather it's for people who are choosing to live life on their own terms and not for anyone else. It's for finding your own voice so that you can become your truest, authentic self. So what does all of that mean exactly? It's, well, one, being your own parent, which is separating what other people tell you to believe and think and determining what you actually think. It's learning how to think for yourself and form your own thoughts and opinions and not just regurgitate things that you hear based on the media or from your friends. And it's actually taking the initiative and incentive to do your due diligence and actually learn about things, learn about what's going on. Two, it's overcoming limiting beliefs. I did a really great episode on that not too long ago, but like anything, it's a process. I constantly have to think and separate and work the steps in my head of different limiting beliefs that will kind of appear throughout the day. Like I just recently had one where I went through this belief that I wasn't creative. And I thought that my art was very limited. I thought that I could only draw and paint things that were right in front of me. I didn't think that I could create my own ideas or illustrations. And I kept telling myself this over and over. And this is how powerful words are, because the more I kept saying it, the more I believed it, to the point where I actually stopped drawing, because I just would get so anxious and just so like worried that I was gonna mess up. And so it wasn't until actually I was doing a game with my boyfriend at the time, now my ex, but we were doing like a painting night, and we had the idea to just write a bunch of different things in a bowl, and we'd pick two of the words out and we would have to draw them, because he was an artist and I was an artist. So we were like, let's do a cute little art date. And we pick out two words and it's robot music. And so we came up with the idea to draw a robot DJ. And as I'm drawing this robot DJ, which is a very, very two interesting words that one could be able to draw, I started realizing that I actually am really creative and that I am very much capable of coming up with a cute and unique drawing, like a really interesting illustration. And I started realizing that I had put that belief in my head and I had built up all this anxiety towards it, and it wasn't true. Like it's not that I wasn't capable of being creative in that sense. It was the fact that I told myself that I couldn't do it. And I told myself over and over again that I couldn't do it, to the point that I really couldn't do it. And it took me actually getting out of my comfort zone and actually like putting myself to the test to actually show myself that you can in fact do this, that this is just something that you made up in your head. It's not true. Overcoming limiting beliefs is a really big tool in helping you to unlearn just different values and thoughts that you may put in your head, that you may think or that you may believe that actually aren't true, that no longer serve you. Another one is embracing new realities, embracing new thoughts and perspectives. Like, I know for me, I've recently become aware, not recently, but I have recently been made aware, I guess, that I am not the best when it comes to money. And I know this about myself. I'm honest and I am aware enough to know that, yes, I am a shopaholic. My finances be a little questionable sometimes. And I think it's just because I have this mindset that money is abundant, it will come and go. And so I'm never too worried about it. But it's also because I think like I've always had this perception or reality, this view that women weren't necessarily supposed to be good at finances. And I guess just through some reflection and some inner work, I've come to realize that I have this perception because Lord knows I love my mother, but she's not good at finances. And she's been very open with me about this, the fact that she's not good at finances. So that's why she leaves that job mainly to my dad, because my dad, that man knows how to handle money. He's good with his money. And so I feel like I've always had this belief or this thought that the men were supposed to handle the money in the relationship. And so I kind of always thought that I'd be fine. I wouldn't really need to worry about my finances. I'll just leave that job up to my husband. But I've recently started to think that, I think also due to the fact that I've been doing a lot more of my solo, if you follow me on TikTok, you'll see that I've been doing a lot of more of my solo adventures and just doing things by myself and really reclaiming my independence since breaking up with my boyfriend, that I've started to really think that I want to be better at my finances. I actually want to know how to budget and how to be a responsible, quote unquote, adult when it comes to money. And I want to be better at my finances just overall. And plus, I don't want to have to rely on some man to take care of me. I want to be able to take care of myself. I don't want to have to rely on some man or my partner to do that. I want to be independent. independent. Do you know what I mean? And also, in the grand scheme of things, the men who are actually good at money aren't going to want to be with someone who isn't able to handle their finances. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's overall just better for me to be better at my finances, because those types of men aren't going to want to be with a girl who doesn't know how to handle her finances. They're going to see her as work. They're going to see it as, unlearning helps us to tear down those walls to get to our true foundation. There you begin to truly unlearn where those thoughts and ideas come from. I feel like society and the school system honestly began to fail us when they kind of started teaching us how to honestly conform and be good test takers rather than teaching us how to think. Those were my favorite types of classes to take in college. I absolutely loved all of my sociology classes. Was I the best at that class? No, but because those times, no. We're not gonna group with that. The classes where you had to calculate and have just one specific answer, I was okay in, but it was the classes where you had to think and analytically and existentially, and those were my favorite types of classes because those were the classes that I felt left a way more lasting impression on me, just simply because it really helped to develop me. It was a skill that I use on a pretty regular basis. Do I use math on a regular basis? No. Do I use calculus, my astrology class that I took? Do I know all the moon phases from that? No, but I got tested on that. Just those classes, the ones that really teach you how to be an existential thinker, those are the ones that I think are worth taking. And those are the ones that are going to be the most valuable to you in the long run. So I challenge you, when you're engaging with people, rather than just trying to prove yourself right, try actually being present and listening with an open mind that you might potentially be wrong. Ultimately, it goes back to what I was saying. We often try to always be right. And I think sometimes we need to be humbled. We honestly need to be humbled. It's like cleaning out your closet. You know how every spring and fall, I don't know if y'all do this, but every spring and fall, I'll go through, not every spring and fall, let's be real. Okay, so maybe every 5 years or so, I try to clean out my closet. I take inventory, I go in there and I look at all my clothes. I look at the tops that are too small, don't fit, too big, or clothes that I just haven't worn in a really long time that are out of fashion. I know I recently was debating about getting rid of I got rid of a lot of my infinity scarves, but I kept a few because honestly, I did really like those. All the juicy tracksuits, even though some of those are kind of cute and making a comeback as well. But it's just essentially, I went through my closet and I got rid of all the clothes that I don't wear anymore, that I haven't worn for years. I got rid of the clothes that just don't really fit me, don't really fit my style. And it's so good and healthy to do this because it's ultimately decluttering my closet. So it's making room for all the new clothes that I want to buy and bring in and have that represent who I am today and who I want to be. It's all the things that serve me now, all the clothes that actually represent who I am at this current present time. And who's to say 5 years from now that I don't get rid of some of those clothes? Because like I said earlier, I'm always changing and evolving. That's how it should be. You shouldn't be staying stagnant. And so with that being said, we do this for our closet, we do this for our clothes. Who's to say, why can't we do this for our brain? Why can't we get rid of the thoughts and ideas and values that no longer serve us? Like anything in life, learning is an ongoing process. It's a muscle. You have to constantly work at it. And so, okay, honestly, I'm gonna sound so cheesy right now, but I think this is one of the best ways that I can explain it, in the sense that people love seeing an underdog story. I think people love to see a really good character development story. I think that runs to be true with movies and shows. All the best shows and movies have a really great character development, like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones. Honestly, the one that comes to mind right now, this is so embarrassing that this is the first one that comes to mind, but I'm thinking of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because honestly, that whole show was just so many lessons, so many gems, but I'm thinking specifically about Zuko. And just that boy, he went from an arrogant teenager who relentlessly sought his father's approval and pushed away anyone who got in his way, to someone who realized the only person's approval that he needed was his own. And I found this to be true. I think the more that I do my solo adventures, frankly, I feel like the moment my life really started to begin to get better was when I stopped waiting for other people. I stopped waiting for other people's validations and waiting for other people to want to do what I wanted to do, and just started living for myself, started going places I wanted to go, even if I was going by myself, because why delay my happiness for someone else? Why delay the gratification that I know I'm gonna get from going to a concert, to a movie, to go and just have a little dinner date by myself, when I feel like, yes, all those things would have been fun if I had done them with friends, but it's also the fact that me taking the initiative to go out and do these things by myself, I'm really kind of cultivating this, not only the sense of independence in myself, but yes, it was a form of self-care, but it was also me recognizing that I had always had this perception of people who did things by themselves were lonely, and that if you were to go out to dinner by yourself or go to a movie by yourself, just do anything by yourself, it just made you seem lonely, it made you look as if you didn't have friends. But that's not the case at all. Like I love being around other people. I love getting the enjoyment and excitement that I get when I talk from other people, but I also love being by myself, and I love doing things by myself. And I think honestly sometimes my friends get mad at me because they'll see me doing just all these random crazy stuff on my story, and they're just like, girl, why didn't you invite me? Why didn't you text me? Why didn't you tell me to come join you for this? And I'm just kind of like, I don't know, it's like a very spur of the moment thing. Sometimes it's nice to do things by yourself. It's just kind of, it's like a little special moment that you have with yourself, and you look back on and you realize that you can really do anything. Like I very much have this belief and notion that I can do anything, and it's because I constantly try to prove myself and try to push myself outside of my comfort zone. I try to do things that make me grow because I love that. Like I love being taught that, not that I was wrong, but being taught that there's nothing you can't do. Your only limits are the limits that you put on yourself. And I think sometimes we put a lot of limits on ourselves without even really trying, and it can get hard to remove them. I mean, those are the limiting beliefs that live in your head. And so in order to get rid of them, you have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Honestly, it's kind of funny when you think about it. The more that you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, the less there is to be uncomfortable about. So what have I unlearned so far? What am I unlearning currently? What am I deconditioning myself to do? Well, one is my relationship with productivity. Essentially, it's tying my self-worth to how productive I am, because that's not healthy. That's very, very much just an anxious anxiety attack waiting to happen. Because I feel like I've always had this, I don't know, and I don't know why, I don't know where it stems from. Maybe it's just like the artist and creative side of me, but I've just never liked the idea of an organized schedule. Like I didn't like the structuredness of just routines, because I thought it was gonna eventually lead to me just living this really mundane life, just doing the same thing over and over again. So I never was a fan of doing routines, but now I'm kind of unlearning that notion, that thought, because I am realizing having a little bit of routine is not bad, and it's okay to make schedules and make healthy routines because it's how you form healthy habits. So one thing that I'm doing that kind of also helps me stay in line with my desire to be productive, but to not be overly productive to the sense where I'm burning myself out, is that I've started to have this quote unquote quiet time, if you will. So from 7 to 10 p.m. on weeknights, I don't watch any TV. It is my time to kind of either get done work that I need to get done, whether it's just doing stuff for the podcast or doing my own little creative thing, or it's time for me to do all the things that I don't get time to do during the day. So it's like my little me time, and I really enjoy doing that so far. I can see a huge increase kind of in my overall happiness and just like my, I guess, balance of work and play. Overall, it's just acknowledging that schedules and routines can actually be helpful. I guess one other thing, or currently one other thought or idea that I'm kind of not necessarily unlearning, but just revisiting, is dating and just relationships in general. Because I feel like right now, right now I know monogamy is like a huge debate going on, and I think it's because, for those of you who have seen White Lotus season 2, I think Aubrey Plaza's storyline does a really, really good job of kind of talking about this, and I think it's actually opened up a lot of people's ideas and perceptions to just like what a healthy relationship is and isn't. And as someone who is newly single, I've started entering back into the dating game a little bit, and it's been interesting. I can say this with a straight face. It has been an interesting experience, I'll say, but I will talk more about this on next week's episode with my special guest, and I think y'all are really gonna enjoy this episode because it is with a friend of mine who her relationship was broadcasted for everyone to see. It was streaming on a very big platform. It was streaming on Netflix, and so everyone tuned in and watched her relationship. And so I feel like I'm curious to know, and I can't wait to ask her what her views on love and relationships were before she went on the show versus what they are now after the show. To tie everything back together, we're constantly learning and unlearning values and ideas, and if you're not, you should probably take a look inwards and think of why. Like, what does having an open mind really do? Like, how is that really gonna harm you? Try to get the video versions of the podcast uploaded by Thursday, but keep in mind, this is new for me, so if it's not every Thursday, I'm sorry, give me grace. I promise I will eventually get better at this. The more I do it, the more I keep at it. I'm getting better, we're learning and working together to get better. I mean, that's ultimately what I want this community to be. I want it to be a safe space for people to feel like they can come here, they can learn, and they can grow, and we can find our truest selves together and kind of find our voices together, because I feel like I really found my voice when I started doing this podcast. And so I'm so grateful and thankful to each and every person who listens and who writes to me and tells me how much the podcast has affected them and how it's helped them. Like, I genuinely love to get those DMs, so thank you so much, you guys. It really truly means so much to me. And just, as always, remember, don't settle for average. Rise above the mean and stand out.